What's up, Guardians? Profane here. Thanks for checking out the video. Today we will be checking out this week's Grandmaster Nightfall, the Hollowed Lair, and we'll be going over all of the glitches, cheeses, and workarounds to make completing this Grandmaster a lot easier, which could be the final chance that you will ever have at defeating the Fanatic before the Tangled Shore becomes vaulted. For completing this week's Grandmaster, Guardians will be rewarded with either the Comedian Shotgun or the Shadow Price Auto Rifle, along with plenty of Ascendant shards and exotics, and for this week only, double Vanguard ranks. Now, before we get started, if you enjoy the video and find it helpful, be sure to help support the channel below by hitting the like button along with the subscribe button if you're new. Featuring Overload and Unstoppable champions, the Hollowed Lair can be an especially challenging Grandmaster. So before you begin, let's address a few loadout preferences. Concussive dampener mods will certainly save your ass here, in a lot of ways, especially when it comes to the final boss fight. While many Guardians may want to slap on the Telesto for the strike, I've found that the Monarch or the Daiku's Divination are both much more effective at clearing adds. And as it is the case with most Grandmasters, Tether, Stasis, Bubble, and Well are all going to be the preferred subclasses. And as you begin this Grandmaster, it's extremely important to avoid a death as you slip by this first set of Scorn. So be sure to snag the public event banner if it's up for grabs, but you might want to consider hopping off your Sparrow here just to play it safe. Now, the opening phases of the strike are fairly cut and dry. Stay as far back as possible to avoid all the explodies and slowly make your way through. The first real challenge of this strike lies in the single floor plate room, where you face off against adds, champions, and the big spider. And while many Guardians will eagerly stand on the plate until it fully reaches the floor, I implore you to not do this. You can actually stand on the plate until just before it completes. This will cause the adds to spawn separately from the spider, allowing you to handle them one at a time and eliminating some potential deaths for you and your team. Now, once you've cleared the waves of adds, stand back on the plate so that the spider will spawn in, and once dead, you'll be on your way. The next difficult section of the strike will be in the double floor plate room. This is a section that sees a lot of deaths, but to make things a lot easier for you here, try activating each plate slowly in phases. So stand on one plate until the adds spawn, hop off, head to the back and clear the adds, rinse and repeat. This is far less risky than taking on a much larger group of adds all at once. You will also find that these plates can be glitched out. Instead of having to run around the mechanism and then stand on the plate, Guardians can run and slide into the sides of these pistons to activate them, and essentially trick the game into thinking that you're standing on the plate. This will eliminate potential deaths, as it won't leave you or your fire team members exposed as the adds spawn in. Now, crossing the bridge in the next segment can be especially difficult, and while there aren't any glitches or cheeses for this section, the best tactic to avoid deaths here will be to just not rush up to the bridge crossing when the adds first spawn in. If you stay back where the Overload champion was, you can actually quickly take out the snipers that spawn in, which they'll definitely mess you up otherwise. But this also gives you plenty more space and cover between you and those two unstoppable champions, along with all of the explodies that are going to chase you across the bridge. When in doubt, don't be afraid to turn tail and run back to a safer space. And that leads us to the final boss room with the Fanatic. This encounter can be tricky, as you'll want to be aware of your positioning at all times. The Fanatic can quickly spawn floor traps that will make your world a living hell. And when the Fanatic isn't causing you problems, the adds and all the explodies are chasing you around a small closed-in room, but that doesn't mean that you're helpless. As mentioned earlier, concussive dampener will be an immense help. And while the Fanatic is in the room, you and your team will want to stay to the far left or right of the room. This way you can use the machinery as cover. And when the Fanatic is not in the room, you and your team will want to stick together and go to the far back at the entranceway of this room when the ads start to swarm in. This is where you can utilize an extremely nifty cheese spot, which is going to be directly overhead. The burning servitor that hangs from the ceiling actually has an outstretched piece of metal on its lower right side. Guardians can leap up and stand on this metal ledge at any point during this encounter to avoid the waves of ads or some of the damage as they rush in. But be aware, this doesn't make you immune. You need to stand in the right spot to not be burnt by the servitor. But when standing here, the enemies can still throw projectiles at you or shoot you with their snipers. So you want to be smart when using this spot. Only use it when necessary to avoid those ads. I wouldn't stand up here when the Fanatic is out himself. Now, over the years, Bungie has made several changes to this encounter to eliminate the ability for Guardians to avoid those Fanatic tethers. And while dives and dodges don't seem to particularly break the tether anymore like they used to, some supers will still do this, like Archstrider, Dawnblade, Thundercrash, Tether, and more. Additionally, Guardians can still equip swords as a way to break the tether, but you will have mixed results still with this. Some swords just don't do it right. My suggestion for Guardians struggling during this particular segment of the battle is to hold off for your supers until this point. That way, when you begin to be tethered, you can pop your super to try to get out of the tether, and also be able to give you that extra resilience buff and the ability to hopefully knock out a couple of the ads that are shooting you while not taking that big stomp damage from the Fanatic. While the Hollowed Lair can be a difficult Grandmaster to complete, the juice is well worth the squeeze, as you will walk away with the adept versions of the Shatter Price auto rifle or the Comedian shotgun, plenty of Ascendant shards, exotics, and throughout the entire week, double Vanguard ranks. That's going to wrap things up for today's video though. I wish you all the best of luck out there this week. I hope you've enjoyed and found today's video helpful. If so, be sure to help support the channel below by hitting the like button along with the subscribe button if you're new. Both are greatly appreciated and help support the channel. Let me know how your runs are going in the comments below, and I'd love to hear what you guys think about the new Vidoc that just aired. So let me know in the comments below. Until next time though, this has been Profane, wishing you all some happy hunting.